In my previous Affinity Designer 2 video, I illustrated how I made 3 flowers. It was actually an excuse to introduce the artboard. To make those flowers, I had to manipulate the shapes I used. I think it's probably valuable to have a video on that, and so I can remember how to do it myself. The first thing we need to do is to open a new document. So we'll go to File and New, and the only thing I'm going to do on this document is to go to Margins and make sure that my Include Margins is unchecked, and then Create. Hey, the first thing that I'm going to do is to draw a square. And I'll draw it down here because I found out that some of the menus hide my square when I try to open them up. If you want to make sure that your square is the same all the way around, remember to hold down the Shift key, which you'll notice that I did not do. So the first thing I want to do is to give my square a fill, and so we can see it. Now, notice that, or what you're supposed to have, are doodads in the context toolbar. If you don't have those, the reason is because you haven't selected the square or the layer that your square is on. So don't think that you did something wrong if you can't see anything. And you'll find that as I move around and click, it will deselect itself and all that stuff will disappear. Okay, so with our square we can have the stroke over here. And right now we have stroke of none. So I want to put a little bit of a stroke around this. And the way you can tell what color it is over here. Right here, the thing in the back tells you what your stroke color is. The little circle in the front tells you what your fill color is. So I'm going to make my stroke bigger by moving this width slider until I get the width I want. So there we go right there. See how I clicked off of it? I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter. So now we have our square with a fill, and we have our stroke around it, and again we have to remember to make sure it's selected because you won't see the rest of this stuff around here. Now, you have all sorts of things here. You have this gear here. You have these corners. And that's what we're going to take a look at first. If you go down to corner, right now it says none, so that means your square is the same all the way around. But if you click rounded, then you're going to get rounded corners. And if you click straight, you're going to get straight corners. And if you click concave, you'll get concave corners, and cutout, you'll get cutout corners. So this looks like what's on the Swiss flag. Okay, now right here is 25%. That means that that's a percentage of our corner indent. So if you want to change that, just click on that and move your slider until you get the size that you want. Okay, now in order to get out of here, all we have to do is select none. Now, over here, this is my favorite part of this whole thing, and that's this little gear. Because this little gear will let you automatically make these shapes. So there's that one, and there's that one, and this one. Okay. So that's how you can just automatically make the shapes without moving it around. So we'll get back out of here and make sure that our square is back, although this is the only one we're not going to be using later. Okay, now let's take a look at the next thing, which is going to be a circle. So here's the circle. This time I swear I'm going to remember to hold down the Shift key and draw my circle. Okay, so I'll let it go, and so I have the circle right there. I don't want it to be the same color as the square, so I would just make it orange. That's good enough. Alrighty, now we have a circle right there, and you can go up to this, and it will say convert to donut. Now, you're not going to get any donuts from Shipley's or any place like that. All you're going to do is to get a donut right here. You can change your donut hole, another thing from Shipley's, by clicking on the whole radius and using the slider. Like that. And if we make our whole radius all the way down to 0, we're going to get our circle back. Now we have a gear for this too. And that will be, well, I better move this. This is what I'm talking about. You really need to make sure it's out of the way, or your shape will be hidden behind this. Okay, so we have all these. We have a donut here. We have this ring. We have this, and this little pie. We can close it. Over here this says close pie, and if we click on that, it will close back up. So that's down here on the end of our concept toolbar. Then you can click here to make that particular shape, and all these other shapes. If you want to make a Pac-Man, you can click here, and so on. So there are all sorts of neat shapes that you can do. So let's convert back to our circle. So now we have our ellipse back. Okay, now this gets more interesting. The star is one of my favorite things to use because you can do so many things with it. So right here, we're going to make our star, and we're going to hold down the Shift key so it stays more or less the same. And this time I'll choose a different color. I'll choose green. And notice that with the star, it automatically gives you your nodes. So you can go ahead and drag the nodes here without selecting the node tool. Here it tells you with that red line which way that the star is going to go when you drag it. Okay. So if we drag it in like this, you're going to make your star narrower. And if you drag it in like this, you're going to make the spokes fatter. Now, up here, and hopefully you remember this from my flowers video, you can go up here to points, change the points. I really don't care what it is. I'll just type in 10 and go enter, and you get multiples of points on there. So no matter what you're making, if you need several points on your star, that you can do that. And then you can change it back if you want, and all that other stuff. So you just play around with this, and you can get yourself all sorts of different shapes. Okay, so here's our gear tool. And the gear tool will give us, oops, need to move this out of the way so we can see it. Okay, we should be able to see it now. The gear tool gives you all sorts of cool shapes right here. If we click this, it will change our star back to the normal star we had. And then you have all these sorts of things. This looks interesting. So if you click on this, that's what that's going to look like. If you click on this one, you'll have something that looks like that, and all sorts of things that you can make depending on, of course, what you're going to make. Okay, so let's change this back to our star and move it aside. Now, right here we have inner radius, so you can fix your radius by doing that. It makes your star a little bit fatter. So all you have to do is just fiddle around with all this until you get what you want. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is, I call it the gear tool, but it's actually not the gear tool, it's the cog tool. So here we have our cog tool, and I'm going to hold down Shift so that my cog is the same. Pick a different color from anywhere for this. And let's make it a little bit lighter. Okay. I don't know why I'm so picky about it because it's going to change. Now this one has a lot of neat choices. It also has the number of teeth, so you can change the number of teeth if you want by using this slider. See how the teeth change? And you can change the inner radius by moving the slider. If you need that look, you can change the whole radius by doing that. And you can change the size of your teeth by doing that. And this has an interesting look. When you change the size of the teeth, they also seem to change shape, which I think is kind of cool. But of course, for me, the coolest part is this gear, which when I use my phone, whoops, we gotta move it so we can see it. So we will do that and choose our gear. And then we have all sorts of interesting choices we can make. If we click this, this changes it back to what it was before. And I've noticed that the gear doesn't do that for all the shapes. It doesn't do that with the square or the circle, but it does do that with the star and the gear. It changes it back to what it was before. You have this, which is kind of an interesting look. And you have this one. And you have this one. So you have all sorts of things that you can pick from when you're going through your experiment of what kind of images that you want to do. Okay, so now what I want to do is take a look at all these shapes. Well, I'm not going to use the square, but now that we've gone through our Disneyland of shapes, I'm going to make a flower with the gear, the star, and the ellipse and see what I come up with. I've done this several times and I truly don't remember what I did the last couple of times, so this is all going to be new for me. And so I'm going to start with the gear shape and go up here to this and see what kind of interesting stuff we can get from here. I think I will use this one and choose that and see what we can do here. What will happen if we do that? Oh, I don't really want to do that. It keeps wanting me to select. Okay, let's see what else we have. So we have that. And let's take the star tool, the star, and move it to where we get, to be perfectly honest, I'm just picking shapes and see what happens. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to do this and just do this. And pick a bunch of points. And now we can get off those nodes and move that right there. I think I want my star on top. Let's collect the cog tool again and see if we can. I like that better. So we're going to do that. Node tool. See what happens with the node tool. Make it a little tighter right there. So we have that and move it around. One suggestion I might have is when you try to click on the different things, click on the layer instead. That'll save you a lot of pain. Then you'll know what you're moving around on. Let's turn this a little bit so that we have that right there. And now we can select our circle and make it smaller, and then move it over here so we can get it in the center, and so we can see it, move it on top of our flower. This color is just not going to work. So I think yellow. I like yellow better because that looks a little bit drab without that. Let's see what other shapes. Maybe we can do something else. What else have I? Oh, I've used the cloud tool before. Let's do that. Use the cloud tool and do red and pull that in and see if we can see what happens if we move it under there. Ooh, I think I got it stuck inside of it. There we go. Okay, can move it here. That's a little bit off. Okay, so there you go. We have our own little flower. It's not really that hard. This one, I just made it off the top of my head. And so I have faith in you. I think that you can too. So here are some of the different shapes and how you can use them. It's fun to experiment and see what you can make. So far, the flowers have been more straightforward for me, but I'm sure as I get the hang of this, over time, I'll be able to expand my artistic scope. Come to think of it, that's what I said when I took art in high school, and that didn't exactly happen. But hope springs eternal. So, remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on my video releases. Visit my Buy Me a Coffee website to help support my channel. I make posts to the site, as well as some of the things I make to the gallery.